I would like to bring up our next moderator and panelist, and we're going to talk a little bit about new metrics. Yeah.
Sure.
This is Jason D'Amata. Woo! Happy birthday!
Jesus. I got to follow Kelly and then that. This is great.
You do. So this is Jason D'Amata. He is the founder and CEO of TV Rev and Fabric Media, and now a new venture called
The Measure.
The Measure. Jason, I'm going to get the click. I was really excited to have this session because we are a measurement-focused event, and The Measure kind of is our namesake. But The Measure is new, and it is dedicated to measuring what?
So backing up, we started with TV Rev. You probably have seen The Measure. You might know it as Data Dose. Alan Wolk, a partner here. Very thankful for the opportunity to do all the education programs, the white papers. But simultaneously, for the last 16 years, we've worked with measurement companies and a group of editorial practitioners to supply the industry with charts, data storytelling. And through Data Dose, through the popularity of one of our newsletters, we realized that everybody loves snackable insights. And what I love about measurement is that it tells a story. And you have proof of a story. So we decided to launch The Measure as a place for liberating all the data that's out there in storytelling form. So the mission really is simple. It's all of you sitting here are hoarding insights. They're on your computers. They're in your PowerPoints. They're set in between your colleagues. And a lot of it tells a really good story. But unfortunately, the editorial world as it is today, it gets lost in a sea of things. So what we've done is we built a big repository across these 5 categories. We're taking television, we're taking creator insights, we're taking, and we partner with a lot of measurement providers, vetted measurement providers, from Vizio to iSpot. We're surfacing insights from companies like TruthSet, where you'll see the headline yesterday, like the study that came out with SIM. It's great about marketing, not necessarily getting it, marketing data not necessarily being correct. However, that's a 20-page slide deck that tells 20 different stories. So we want to have snackable insights by design. So I invite the industry to come.
So is it making measurement for Gen Z?
It's making it about people with my attention span, which is like 2 minutes, right? Snackable, easy, shareable, and that's The Measure.
I wanted to stay on this side for 1 second, though. I think this also kind of speaks to kind of some things that have been said over the course of the past couple of days, even something that Kelly said. There's all these different things that need to be measured. There's the content itself. There's the quality of the content. There's the platform that the content runs on. I think the fact that you're going to measure TV ads or talk about measuring TV ads, music, the creator economy, marketing actually helps provide a full picture of the media experience and as well as what needs to be measured.
That's the hope. Our goal is to really just to bring the stories in one place. Right now we have 250 articles already written. We've got 20 different case studies from all different companies. And we just aim to build a repository. So it's easier for you to find the insights you're looking for, but also if you have insights that are yours that you feel like the rest of the industry could benefit from, share them. And when we went through that process for clients and people, companies we consult with, we realized it's not that easy. So we aim to make it easy and shareable, but also to give people a holistic picture. If you want to know something about TikTok, if you want to know something about television, if you want to know something about advertising, we hope to be able to tell a story. And if you have information unlike that, we want to help unlock it. And that's true. All right, we're ready to get to the and then here, if you want to go, it's themeasure.net. Here's
QR code.
Cheesy plug for the website. All right,
we're turning a slide into a performance marketing medium. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
So, Jason, I'm going to turn the stage over to you. You're going to lead a panel on the new metrics, including metrics that The Measure covers.
Yes.
Yes. And so I will let you bring up your panel.
So before we do that, can we just give Tamika and John a huge round of applause for bringing everybody together? I think you've outdone yourself. This is really exciting because we get to talk about, there's been a lot of talk about measurement, but we're going to show some measurement, right? So I've asked everybody to provide slides. Let's start with context, right? As the title says. Let's go through. Karen, if you want to start us off, please introduce yourself and how you operate in the realm of context and what you're doing to advance context.
Sure. Karen Nelson-Field, founder, CEO of Amplified Intelligence. I'm a professor in media innovation, so my whole research agenda for the last 20 years has been attention, context, and interestingly, emotion. First book was on emotion, second book was on attention. Now we're actually overlaying AI in the context space. So I have a commercial business that focuses on collecting facial footage for the purpose at 18 countries for the purpose of sort of understanding all these three different things. So that's me in a nutshell.
Field, I'm gonna pull up your slide on context. I think a lot of people know about Iris, but can you please just give us a little bit more about yourself and Iris and how you operate in the field of context?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So Iris TV, we're a content data platform, and we really just do three things. We structure data. So we work with, it's now over 10,000 publisher websites, CTV channels, FAST channels, apps. We take all that data in and normalize it. And that's a huge standardization and normalization challenge that we've been able to kind of make easy for content owners. The next thing that we do is we connect their content with, now it's over 20 different AI solutions. Like Karen said, there's a lot of great new technology, specifically computer vision, that can derive standardized data for contextual, brand suitability, emotion, even logo recognition. There's been advertisers that have run Kevin Hart campaigns, right? Like, so this is starting to actually get to scale, which is really exciting. And the last thing we do to make that actually possible is we activate that data on ad platforms. So if you see us in the press, you'll see a lot of announcements coming out. We had the one this week with Cargo about activating this data on ad servers, SSPs, and DSPs. And related to what Kelly was talking about, the reason this is important is because the ad environment does matter. Ads perform better when they're shown in relevant environments. This research that I'm sharing here is proven by Magna, who was here earlier today. Later in the panel, I'll share some research that we are going to be publishing later this month, which is very similar. And it's not surprising. A lot of this stuff is kind of self-explanatory, but just to kind of explain some of the challenges in this industry, specifically in streaming, when you have genre-based signals, like say comedy, everyone thinks that kind of like, hey, you know, that data is available, right? Everyone can just share it and it's simple. It's not. And we did an analysis with the DSP basis, found on 100,000 ad impressions that were purchased, which is all genres. There was over 800 types of comedy, rom-com, comedy, stand-up, all uppercase, comedy, family, uppercase and lowercase. Like, I'm not joking. And so when that hits a DSP and they need a decision on that, it's not possible. They need to make decisions in milliseconds. So anyone who says that this genre data is not valuable or that, you know, it just doesn't work, just doesn't understand those intricacies. And that's really important because that data needs to be standardized and interoperable so that SSPs, DSPs, ad servers, buyers, measurement platforms can agree on it. And I just want to start with this slide just to kind of show how important it is and how impactful it can be.
Trisha, tell us about your company and what it does in relation to context.
Sure. So Trisha Allen, I am visiting from Canada, so nice to see you all. I represent a company for North America, basically any English-speaking country, called Reticle AI. It's not radical, it's reticle. Think about targeting. And essentially what we do is based on our understanding of human motivation and how people think and feel about brands. We've taken a lot of those insights from our sister company, HotSpecs, and developed a technology called Reticle AI, which has the ability to curate digital inventory. So to Kelly's point, you can now align your message within the quality content, within the right space, and be able to measure the impact of those. By aligning those emotions, you're obviously going to get greater impact and greater recall. And all of those good things from a media measurement perspective. So that's what Reticle does. We're all about emotion.
Aren't we all? Speaking of emotion, I'm psyched to have Britt here from Creator IQ. Britt, explain Creator IQ and how it relates to emotion.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. I feel a little bit like the black sheep of the conference. So Creator IQ is an influencer marketing platform. We work with the biggest, most influential, impactful brands in the world. So think, the Unilevers, Nestle's of the world. We also work with all of the social platforms directly, obviously as a partner, but also as a client. We work with 6 of the 7 largest agency holding groups. And really what we do is combine intelligence and workflow to help these clients understand and invest and execute in the creator economy on social platforms. So our intelligence helps them discover the right creators to work with, understand what content is working for them, best forecast and measure the return on that investment, and ultimately grow program and brand success over time. My role very specifically is to kind of be in the ears of CMOs to help them understand the impact and potential of this space. We solve a lot of the same problems that all of you do for our clients. They're really trying to understand the landscape, to understand what information and data they need to plan and buy, to have the standards available to them to know what to decision on in what ways. And we're early, so it's like the Wild West over here. So it's really fun.
And just to clarify it, you shouldn't feel like a black sheep just because Kelly doesn't like went out YouTube. I think everybody.
Yeah, Kelly.
I think what she's really advocating is accurate measurement, and I think that I know Creator IQ does that. All right, let's switch to attention. Karen, you're in Australia,
Correct.
so I guess we understand why you're in
6 a.m. in the morning.
the morning. Karen, here's your slide on the hierarchy of attention. Can you please take us through this lovely, colorful funnel you devised?
Sure. I mean, this one is often met with horror, to be quite frank. And this kind of revolves around the rules around attention economics. So, as I said, I've, for many, many years, been involved with all the 3 things we're talking about today. So attention, emotion, and context. But what's interesting and what most people don't really understand is that the performance of particularly the creative and the context in which the creative fits is directly tempered by the functionality of the platform. So if you've ever read any books around, stolen focus or how attention deficit works or inattention works, the distractions are caused by our lifestyle and the distractions are caused by the technology. And if you think about it in that way, it's the same here. So thinking about how ads work, this is a hierarchy that informs the influence, if you like, of earning attention. So, for example, the platform itself, and most people go, oh, we'll just build a good creative and it will kind of deviate outside of the norm, but it doesn't work like that. So the platform itself is the single biggest reason why attention or inattention happens. So the platform, which is, and the device itself, the device first and then the platform, are the 2 things that kind of define the user experience and then the format underneath that. So for example, if you're locked in a room and you cannot dual screen, that device and that platform experience will mean that you will pay more attention versus one where you've got it in your hand and you're doom scrolling and there's kids around you, for example. So what that means is actually the context in which the ad plays is actually mediated by those factors. So what we see, and it's a bit complicated, is that this whole math, it kind of defines how much attention your piece of creative can achieve. It's the stage that it gives you. And then the creative forms within those boundaries. So a lot of creative people don't like this because I put creative at the bottom, and this includes emotions. And recently I was in Cannes with Orlando Wood and Peter Field talking to this. So emotions do help kind of nudge that slightly, but it's still, if you've got a platform that's highly scrollable or, to Kelly's point, skippable, the best you might get is 2 or 3 seconds, and there's nothing your amazing piece of creative can do, certainly to the masses. So creative is last on the funnel, but it's the biggest thing that influences sales. So don't misalign this hierarchy to mean that creative isn't important. It is the most important piece of getting a sale. So I can get you 10 seconds on one platform and 10 seconds on another. And if your creative kind of sort of has a story, talks about who you are, puts your brand in there, it'll get outcomes versus the other. So I just want to clarify, I always get, well, that's okay, creative will fix it and it will drive more attention, but it does not work like that. So the platform and the format and the device in which it's on defines how much attention or what stage it looks like for the creative to shine. So I know that's, hard for people to kind of get, but we see this systematically. This is literally a science around it.
Fields, did you get that? I know you're over there.
Are they? I can't see. Are they like faint?
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I'm just having fun. So you're nodding your head. So Field, in terms of attention, and the hierarchies of attention, how do you address that with something like the Iris ID? Does it account for attention, or is it all context? Does it matter? Or is it more about other forms of performance?
Yeah, background. The Iris ID is our content ID. So it's not a person-based ID. It's only an ID for content. It exists because a lot of contextual data, suitability data on digital was all done on web pages. That's the content ID, and that's true for YouTube. It's true for social. So we created this ID for streaming environments. We're focused today on CTV, and we will be doing audio in the future. But yeah, that container, which can store a whole bunch of data, including reticles data, that emotional data, that stores the information, and then you can leverage it to look at all kinds of measurement, including attention. So it can be incorporated. But yeah, we're focused on the big screen. I think to this point, device, platform, and the points that Kelly made. Bill Harvey, who spoke here earlier today, did some research for Fox a few years ago, where he looked at the return on ad spend and found that TV was a 1x. YouTube and Facebook were like far below a 1. And CTV, like streaming, was actually like a 4x return on ad spend for auto, 9x for CPG, 9x for QSR. These things really matter. And Kelly reinforced the point really effectively.
Of the context?
The quality of the content, the size of the screen, the quality of the attention.
Brett, let's switch gears here. First, let's just familiarize the audience with what we're looking at here. It's the U.S. apparel brands, the top 10. This is a function of reach, but it also does speak to attention. Can you just jump in here on?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things we do is measure, it's panel-based measurement, but we're looking at share of influence across the categories that we cover and where our clients exist. So think passion categories like fashion, beauty, fitness, wellness, also auto, sports, you name it, we probably cover it, media and entertainment inclusive. So what we're measuring here is share of influence as measured by earned media value. We're looking at the way creators, the most influential and impactful voices in the creator community, so hundreds of thousands of creators, but again, not everyone, the people who are driving the most impact specific to these categories, what content they're putting out and what happens with their audiences when they put that content out. So this is actually a lot more about engagement than it is about reach. So that quality is actually kind of baked in. And what we're seeing and what's been super interesting over the last 10 years is that, as we all know, like more and more attention is going to social channels and to content created by creators. But what is super interesting is by brand and category where that attention is going. And so what we've seen, this top 10 apparel brands in the US is a really good example. 5 years ago, this list would have been dramatically different. The fact that Fashion Nova, which I'm assuming a lot of you have not even heard of, is the #1 brand that we track as, again, measured by creator content and customer engagement, is wild. And so what we've seen over the past 5 years is these brands really take share from these more established kind of cultural zeitgeist brands, the brands you would expect to see in the top 10. And the business impact is happening as well. So Fashion Nova is a, $15 billion brand, growing at a rapid pace. I mean, it's like the brand you never knew that is everywhere. And creators are intimately built into every part of their business. So the measurement that we're looking at here, again, is like broad panel-based measurement, but really understanding, what does the category look like? What are customers engaging with? It's a leading indicator of where customer taste is going. So we work with financial partners, with buyer strategists, data companies, to really, again, leverage this data as a leading indicator for consumer interest and taste over time.
Trisha, did you want to chime in on the topics of attention and/or engagement as it relates to either form of content?
Well, what I would say on that, I mean, we've done quite a few case studies with one particular attention partner who, I mean, there's many out there. They all have their merits. And it speaks to a couple of things. So first and foremost, we can't control creative. I know Kelly had her hierarchy, and yes, creative is extremely important, but as media practitioners and measurement specialists, we can't control the quality of the creative. What we found when we used emotion coupled with the creative, coupled with being in the right environment, is that you actually, with poor creative, we're still able to drive that emotional connection and create that story while also improving purchase consideration. So that was something that was really telling, because if you've got great creative, that's great. You're going to get your brand distinctiveness. You're going to get your brand salience. Check, check. But how does that translate into when people are at point of purchase and when they're going to make that sale? It's those emotional connections and it's that purchase preference that's really going to help take that over the edge.
Great. Karen, I'm going to come back to you while we're talking about, Brent, we'll come back to just one more example of quickly on TikTok and how you're coming up with standards. So earlier we showed the full funnel of attention. I wanted to just, Brett, if you could, for this audience, describe the work that Creator IQ has done when it comes to currency and developing different standards for different industries, right? And look at it. And then this also confirms what Kelly had shown around the different bands of our Mr. Beast survey.
Yeah, I actually thought about that when Kelly had that slide up, and I'll speak to this specifically because TikTok, probably not unexpected, behaves a little differently than the other channels. We worked with ANA Influencer Marketing Council several years back. It's the first time in the history of our industry that a collective really came together to identify and set standards for creator marketing and really across the social platforms. What should you expect as an advertiser? How can you measure success? How can you have benchmarks that are translatable that you can take and adapt to your markets, to your regions, to your brands? Again, a good example of this in our world is I was with Nestle and Bebe a couple months ago, and they were talking about even just a single region, Indonesia. They were working with 11 different agencies, all measuring their creator activations with different sets of metrics, reporting back with wrap-up reports 3 weeks post-campaign. And what they've been able to do by centralizing all of the data, owning it themselves, and applying standards at a global level is reduce their agency reliance from 11 to 3. And then also, again, get that visibility they need to make decisions at scale on both the big level, like the highest levels, but also optimize in real time at the campaign level. And so having both sides of that from a standards and measurement standpoint and a visibility standpoint is incredibly important. This very specifically is looking at TikTok. So if you look at the engagement rate benchmark specifically, looking from nano to mega, that's all by follower count. But you can see that the engagement rates actually decline until, again, this is the distinction with TikTok. They tick back up when you get to the mega creators. Typically what we see is the most engaged audiences tend to be with the smaller creators. And this makes sense, right? Just kind of put yourself behind your phone. You're following somebody earlier stage because you really care about the content that they're creating. Talk about context. You are choosing to be on that platform, to be following that individual because of the topics, the content, the conversation that they post. And so you're engaging in that conversation already. And so that creator's ability to bring you into their partnerships, again, which, I know we're all kind of advertisers here, pay to play is a small percentage of what's going on in the creator economy right now. The large majority is earned organic. It's the way that marketers discover and vet and assess the value of potential creator partners, especially when you get into those micro, nano, smaller follower accounts. So again, I do agree. I think it maps really well with what Kelly said, is that it's all about content quality, but more than that, it is about that resonance. It's about being in the conversations that you choose to be in, creating an ongoing dialogue, not just pre-purchase, post-purchase. It's that engagement, that the confidence that you get when you learn more about the brand and its community.
Some would say emotionality. So the next slide, Trisha, I know you provided this, right? On emotionality aligned ads outperform. It seems intuitive, but I guess to take a television spin on it, like, how do those things coexist? Like, if you're pulling this data, and well, I should back up. How do they coexist? But also, how are you taking data, emotionality data, and funneling into the TV ecosystem?
Two little bit different questions, but very good questions.
Totally different questions. How do they as you bring it in, how does it coexist with television?
So we are processing data in batches every 20 minutes, every single day. So we are not just looking at CTV, we're looking at YouTube, we're looking at display, we're looking at OLV. We analyze everything on a URL by URL, video by video basis, beyond the text, beyond the imagery, the transcripts, basically every nook and cranny that we're able to analyze. Because we have this human motivation framework that was developed through our sister Insights firm, we've actually taken a lot of those data points to help train the model to understand. I always giggle when I say this, a computer that understands human emotion. But it goes beyond sentiment. So it understands specific emotional categories. If you're feeling trendy, if you want to be associated with nurturing, with sophisticated, reliable, maybe you're an insurance company. And so taking that information and being able to translate that, and in the case of our partner Iris, it's enriching that with the Iris ID to be able to line up creative within the CTV content that is more brand optimal. It's a better experience. I feel like we overcomplicate media sometimes, and it really is just common sense if you think about it like a consumer. If you're consuming content and you're served an ad that has nothing to do with what you're consuming, it's like Kelly said, 5, 4, 3, like, when can I hit that X? But if it's served up to me in an experience that aligns with the creative and the intent, or and it aligns with, what just happened in the last segment pre-commercial break, all of a sudden that's a better experience, and you're going to want to learn more. You're going to want to take that next step.
I actually think it's the downside of social is it's the ads that are a little too personal for me, right? Like this shirt will make you look, like you've been working out. I'm like,
do you think I'm fat? Yeah.
I'm like, hey, come on.
Looking at my foot traffic.
Stop looking at my foot traffic to the donut shop. Kara, let's come back to you. You provided this slide, and I want to understand. We're going back to attention, but it does connect with emotionality. This all kind of comes full circle. Can you explain this slide and specifically what is synthetic attention?
Yeah, sure. So obviously attention economics is relatively new in terms of the data that's available. And, even I've been doing this now for 7 years, sort of, after working out that viewability was failing us. And basically to try and sort of put a line in the sand to make it kind of simple for people, because, there are a lot of vendors. If you do get a chance when the ARF produce their atlas, which is off the back of their attention initiative, please read it, because it kind of highlights 26 of us now. When I started, there might have been 3. But basically, if you think about data, because it's hard for people to kind of get their heads around it, attention data kind of falls into 2 buckets. And there's biometrics, so there's what I call human, and that kind of includes things like, gaze, which is the most famous one, but there's facial recognition, there's neuromarketing or neuroscience, there's, fMRI, there's sort of all sorts of different, but it's all about humans, right? And even to a certain degree, it's not always in the tech space. So human attention data, not that we would advocate this, can be survey-based. So if you're asking a human, then it's human attention data or person-level attention data. Synthetic data is what has kind of been the evolution, I guess, of viewability, which is if we just tweak a couple of factors in the tag, which picks up scroll speed, then that must be attention data. That's actually wrong. It's interesting because the engagement factors that are used in synthetic data is often attributed to both attention and inattention. So you can scroll slowly, but actually it's because you don't want the page to go and you're talking to someone else. So we find engagement factors which are used to predict attention on that side have indicators of both attention and inattention. So the future of attention economics is actually a combination of both. So I think someone in the panel talked about truth set. So we are a machine learning business, and the thinking around ground truth is that you have a really, really rich set of data that kind of defines the norm or defines the truth. And then anything that you want to use to scale from that is actually such as sort of synthetic tags, for example, calls on this truth set. So I think that's probably the easiest way to put it. So human attention data is gaze. I mean, we still have 500 million human data points, so it's not small, but anything bigger than that, so 18 countries, it's hard, it's expensive, it isn't really scalable, there's privacy concerns, and it's surveillance. So, that is about the best you're going to get in terms of data. So to be able to then extrapolate that out to the billions of data points, which is the upside and the value of synthetic attention, is to actually make sure that it learns essentially from a ground truth set. So I think that slide I use a lot just to sort of help people understand the difference between the two sets of data on both sides.
Thank you very much. Speaking of mindset, Field, this is your slide. Please explain.
Everyone hang in there. We're almost to the end. Just reinforcing what Trisha shared. There's some really amazing research on emotional data and the impact. And I have some that's not on the slide that I can also share today. But looking at performance indicators like search intent, like purchase intent, brand favorability, there's a significant increase when you just align the ad with relevant content, exactly what Trisha was talking about. And we've actually funded some more research on this. It's going to be released in a couple of weeks that I have some of the results, where it was essentially consumer research and it's relevant to everything Karen was just talking about with its actual human data. So it's looking at eye tracking and human perception and the impact of CTV advertising when you have AI-enabled targeting. So this is the type of emotional data or contextual data compared with standard demographic targeting or publisher-declared metadata. So just kind of as the control groups. The AI contextual targeting attracted viewer attention 4 times more than pub-declared metadata, which, as I shared earlier, is really hard to make available to begin with. 3 times more than demographic data. So 3 times more. This is just pure attention. It was twice as memorable. So it has 2 times higher unaided brand recall, 4 times higher aided recall, increased brand interest by 40%. And then what's most important is negative brand attention. And AppLovin is doing some really amazing research on this and some of their products. But poor brand suitability matters. And this is something that I think, kind of was brought up earlier in kind of alignment to UGC. You have no idea what it is, right? If I would love for YouTube to have video level data. And I think that's an opportunity for every broadcaster and content owner that has premium quality content to differentiate themselves, because they won't. It's really important. And there were some great points made by, several people through the course of the conference on that point. But negative brand suitability, 50% of viewers were less interested in the brand after kind of seeing the brand in a bad placement. So more than half cared less about the brand. And then 30% of viewers like the brand list. So we all kind of have experienced that, but it's just really important to, look at the research, take it into account. We'll be publishing that in a few weeks. And so just reinforcing some of the things that are on the slide here.
When you think about, Britt, I'm going to come to you. You're seeing all of TikTok's data, right? The full firehose. You're seeing all of Meta. How much does the algorithm control it versus the human behaviors? Is it the whim of, Wall Street trying to grind out more revenue? Or do you believe that it's actually for the better of people and the consumer experience?
For the benefit of our partnerships, I'm going to keep this one pretty high level. I think it's both.
Controversial.
It's both, right? So
cool.
It absolutely is both. These platforms are businesses and they operate to monetize and grow their business over time, just like we all do. That being said, if they are going to do that and be sustainable over time, they're going to leverage the data that they have on what their consumers want and use that to inform their algorithms, their models, et cetera. Right now, I think they pay over attention to advertisers versus the actual users of the platform. Creators also are a massive audience. Like, the platforms themselves are important, but consumers would not be on them without creators. Where creators go, consumers will follow. We've seen that with the rise and fall of several social platforms over the last 10 years. And creators really are the constant. And so listening to creators as well and making creators a core, not just part of your audience and who you listen to and that feedback loop, but also part of your business model, your monetization. That mutual benefit is incredibly important. We talk a lot to our clients about that as well. Like, it should be a you scratch my back, I scratch yours model where everyone wins. Creators are in and of themselves their own publishers. And so we should be treating them as business owners and publishers. And I think the platforms would be served really well to do the same.
Fantastic. With that, we'll make that the last word. I see we're blinking. We'll give a round of applause for everybody. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen in Australia.